Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lauren with the National Weather Service, New Orleans. I just want to talk about some weather on this Sunday, October 16th. We do have a few things coming up this week that are probably worth talking about, so let's jump right into that. Let's start with the good news. No new tropical cyclones are expected during the next 5 days. So, some quiet time, take the break. We still have a few more weeks left of hurricane season, though, so make sure your plans are still ready to go and keep an eye out on the forecast. So let's talk about the first hazard we have going on tonight. We have a dense fog advisory in effect. So parts of Washington, St. Tammany Parish, and then into coastal Mississippi. So this means that visibilities from fog could get to about a quarter mile or less. Now this will have some impacts on your driving, so just make sure you leave a little bit more time to get to work tomorrow, and as that visibility reduces, make sure you slow down. The second thing we're going to be watching for Tuesday is going to be fire weather conditions. Now, we usually call these red flag warnings or fire weather watches, and basically all they are trying to forecast the conditions that if a fire would start, it could spread quickly. So we typically look at relative humidity, wind speed, and then also how dry things are, how we call them the fuels. So, grasses, dead trees, how dry everything is. So we know we're pretty dry right now. We haven't had a lot of rain over the last couple months. So once we get the strong cold front come through on Tuesday, the winds are going to increase, the relative humidity is going to decrease. So we do have this fire weather watch up for coastal Mississippi. As we get closer to Tuesday, that could turn into a red flag warning. It could get expanded to Louisiana as well. So the biggest thing we want to make sure we let you all know for this is, no open outdoor burning. That's what's recommended. We just want to make sure if a fire starts that it doesn't spread. The next thing we want to talk about is cold temperatures. Winter is coming, and it looks like Tuesday night into Wednesday morning is going to be our first attempt at that. You can see here, this is our low temperatures Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. We have a forecast right now of 30 degrees in southern Mississippi, even as low as Slidell and Covington, right around freezing. So keep an eye out over the next day or two. We could have a freeze watch and a freeze warning potentially for especially areas north of I-10, I-12. Now for the southern areas, you guys will stay mid to upper 30s, lower 40s, and even possibly down to the southern ends in the lower 50s. But we want everybody to keep an eye on this. First freeze, let's start thinking about bringing your plants in, anything else you may have outdoors that would be susceptible to frost or freeze. Now, in case you're wondering, these are going to be the high temperatures on Wednesday, so it's going to be much cooler than we've seen over the last few weeks. Probably the coolest high temperature we've seen at least since spring. I don't have the numbers on that, but definitely will feel pretty cool compared to the heat we've been experiencing over the last couple months. So here's a somewhat complicated graphic, but let me break it down for you a little bit. These are the earliest that we've seen a freezing temperature and the latest we've seen freezing temperatures. So we also have a hard freeze on here as well. Hard freeze is when temperatures get to 25 or below. Freezing is 32 or below. So just to give you an example of how to read this, at Baton Rouge, the earliest we've ever seen a 32 degrees is October 27th in 1898. And the earliest we've ever seen hard freeze was November 13th, 2019. So with this potentially being October 19th, we actually are pretty early. So if we do end up getting a freeze at Slidell and at Macomb, we'll tie the record for Macomb. The earliest freeze there is 10/19, but Slidell, the earliest is 10/29, so it would be the earliest freeze in the period of record that we have here. Now you can see Slidell only goes back to 1994, but some of the other ones like Gulfport and Baton Rouge go back to the 1800s. So this will be on our social media page. Feel free to pause it here if you want to digest some of this, but the point is that this will be a pretty early freeze for our area. The last thing we want to talk about is the Mississippi River. You guys maybe have been hearing that it's pretty low right now, and it's actually causing some impacts and things getting unearthed because of how low the water is. So while we're not in the top 10 lowest low waters for the Mississippi River, and this is just the Carrollton gauge at New Orleans, I have the top 10 up right there. The next one down here on the bottom right, this is the lowest it's been since 2011. So I was looking through the top 150 lowest records, and the last time it was this low was 2011. So it's been a little over 10 years. And in case you're wondering where we're at in the records, it's about 150. So again, not top 10 or anything, but still low enough to be impactful. Well, that's all I have for this week. Quite a few things going on. If you guys have any questions, just let us know.